All right, we're recording.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sean Andreas Podcast. I'm Sean,
And I'm Andreas.
and welcome. And today we actually have a special guest over here, as you can see. Introduce yourself.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Eric Talento. Most of you guys might know me as ET.thebarber, barber of many of the NBA clients.
Nice, nice, nice.
And also
yeah, so
Diego's
we actually,
uncle.
yeah, there you go. We actually almost had him on it was like a month or two ago, but we had some technical difficulties. Couldn't get it worked out during the time frame, so he's back, and we're doing the episode now. So
Yes, technical difficulties got the best of it, but that's okay. We are here now, and we actually got some seems like better content to talk about. So even better.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right, so I guess we should start off with the highlight of the last 2 weeks. I mean, Jason Tatum dropped 53 points in a game just a couple days ago, which is pretty nuts because that's the highest a single Celtics player has scored since Larry Bird dropped 60 points, which is actually still the Celtics franchise leading scoring record.
Wow, I did not realize that hadn't been done since. I would have thought for whatever reason someone might have got there in 08 when they won the championship.
Yeah, you would think maybe Paul Pierce or something, but actually no one managed to done it. No one. I thought maybe IT would have done it, but he hadn't done it. I think he scored like 40 something points in a playoff game once.
Yeah, I think.
But that's about it.
But no, when I think of Tatum dropping 50, I just think of remember that art I sent you, Sean, of Kelly Olynyk and then the ghost of Larry
Yeah,
Bird.
Larry Bird. Yeah, so
I just now think of adding Tatum into that.
okay. To be fair, Kelly Olynyk did drop like 40 points on and get a game 7 against the Washington Wizards back in 2017. So he kind of deserves that graphic, to be honest.
Yeah.
He carried that shit. He carried that shit. But also, speaking of 50 bombs, there was another player by the name of Zach Lavine over on the Chicago Bulls who dropped 50, and there's only been 5 players, I think, in Chicago Bulls history that have dropped 50 points or more. Obviously, there's Michael Jordan, who did it like 30 plus times. Jimmy Butler did it twice, and then Zach Lavine did it once, and then I can't remember who else has done it. But
I'm surprised
there's
Derrick Rose isn't one of them.
I was gonna say Derrick Rose. Wait, I think he dropped his 50 piece when he wasn't on the.
He was on the Timberwolves.
Yeah, he was on the Timberwolves, not on the Bulls. He was on the Timberwolves, but yeah. So there's that. What do you think about all that, Diego?
Honestly, I love Levine. I just wish they would just be getting more wins with it. Because with that game, yeah, he dropped 50, but they lost when they had a lead.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just kind of weird because Nikola Vucevic and Zach Lavine. You'd think they'd pair together well. You'd think they'd start chaining together some wins, but it's actually just been losses ever since the trade deadline.
That and they still have they gave up their pick this year to the Magic, which could be a lottery pick.
I expect them to turn it around. Kobe White and Thomas Satoransky. I mean, Laurie Markkinen's coming off the bench now for Thad Young. Thad Young has been playing really well though, so it's not like discredit Thad Young. But you really want your player that dropped like 17 points a game in his rookie year to be starting, but it's just it is what it is. So speaking of 50 bombs, there was a player that dropped 70 a couple years ago, Devin Booker, who is actually now first in the Western Conference, with Chris Paul leading the way at the point guard. So what do you guys think of that?
Like, go ahead.
It's a surprise because it's the Suns, but it's not a surprise because Chris Paul is a denominator on that, and he's been obviously a vet now where he can really help out a young player in Devin Booker. I don't even want to call him a young player now, but younger, where he can really mold them. And that 70 piece though, that was impressive. That was
first 70 piece since Kobe's 81 back in 04 or 06. I can't remember when it was.
It was 06.
It was '06, and so whenever you guys think about like Chris Paul, I mean, like the guy has gone to every team that he's gone to, and he has increased their win percentage
Yep.
by a drastic amount. He's basically brought every team that he's went to into a winning record and into the playoffs basically every year that he's done. Besides, I think it's like his rookie year
Bes-
with the uh, with the Charlotte Hornets, but
Yeah, because I don't think did he ever. I think he only made the playoffs like I think like twice, 3 times as a Hornet. I wouldn't know.
he made it in '08. I think he made it in '07. I think he made it in '09. And then he made it in '10, and then he demanded a trade after 11. So and then
Okay.
he went to the Clippers in 12. You remember?
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Chris Paul has been playing super well in terms of MVP candidacy, though. I mean, we kind of talked about this a little bit beforehand, but I don't know. I just think that it's Jokic. It's so like clear as day that it's Jokic to me. I don't see how it could be anybody else other than Jokic.
Yeah, and honestly, you even with the acquirement of Aaron Gordon, even though he he's kind of still had the same production, it still had a big impact on the team overall.
So, what do you think of the MVP race, Eric?
I think I'm with you with Jokic, leading the way and kind of still dominating to the point where you can't really say anyone else. There's definitely some close runner-ups. Embiid, if it wasn't for his injuries, I feel like he would be in a lot more of that mix.
Same with LeBron.
Same with LeBron with the injuries. I mean, even Lillard's in my top 5 for MVP, but it's harder for Lillard to get it just because of. I mean, we all know this. That I feel like there's some games where it's inconsistent to the point where you're like, that's not an MVP performance. That's not an MVP player performance at that. Like you got to show up damn near every single night.
And speaking of MVP discussions, LeBron and AD are coming back. I think by either this week or the end or next week. So we should be looking forward to that. Seeing how the Lakers can bounce back after all those injuries started happening. And we talked about Dame a little bit. But in terms of Trailblazers as a whole, the only thing that I think that's really gatekeeping Dame from being MVP right now is the wins. The Trailblazers are bad. I mean, we're still in the playoffs right now, but we have a negative win record over the last month or so.
And
Um,
just
we,
haven't been able to beat teams that are over 500.
Not only that, but Dame has failed to show up over this last month too. Like he had a 12-point performance last night against the Heat. He had 26 against the Pistons, but it's against the Pistons. He's being guarded by like who? Reggie? Is it even Reggie Jackson even there anymore?
We don't even
I
know
can't
who
remember.
does
Josh Jackson and I think Dennis Smith Jr.
Yeah, he got guarded by like Dennis Smith Jr. So congrats on dropping 27 on Dennis Smith Jr. Hey, no slack for dropping 27 though. But I'm just saying, like comparatively, dropping 27 on like I don't know the Celtics or the Jazz or any of these other teams. He's just like he's done really bad against good teams for this
Yeah.
last like month.
I mean, he's averaging 29.2 or something a game. So it's like,
But it was 31 points a game, like earlier this season.
yeah, we got to see. We got to see. I'd like to see. I think right now he's averaging also almost like 8 assists a game. I feel like he would be in a little bit better position if he just were, I don't know, average a triple double. That just sounds better, especially for an MVP, race as close as it is. We also didn't mention Giannis, who's probably in that, fourth spot or so with the MVP.
Also, James
just
Harden.
Yeah, I'll be honest though, I'm not a crazy big Harden fan. I don't know why. I never have been. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why I don't like to bring him up. But he is there. He probably is the 5th person out of all of those people. If not,
So the thing about Harden in terms of MVP candidacy, at least for like this season, is that he's on the Nets. There's Katie and Kyrie there, so it's kind of hard to win MVP on that team. And also he's been out a little bit. But I really love Harden on that 2017 in 2017. That season whenever it was him versus Russ for MVP when Russ averaged his triple double, but then Harden averaged like 29, 8, and 11. Him playing that season was absolutely phenomenal. It was the most insane basketball from an individual that I watched at least until the next season when James Harden dropped 36 points a game for an entire season.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, he's definitely a great player. He's a great scorer.
Also a great playmaker because he's leading the league in assists right now.
I feel like people sleep on his playmaking.
I don't know how he leads the league in assists almost every year at this point.
Granted, the last couple of years kind of been like a little drop off, but then just improving once again.
I think the only year where he wasn't like top 3 was the year he played with Chris Paul in 2018. But okay, in terms of Giannis, I think it's more voter fatigue. You know what I mean? He's won the last 2 MVPs. It's really, really hard to win 3 MVPs in a row. The last player that did it was Larry Bird, which is a very phenomenal all-time great top 5 player of all time, arguably. So it's pretty hard to match that in terms of consistency and just going out there and winning a regular season award like that, especially whenever you don't show up in the playoffs. I don't know. It's just kind of hard to get the narrative around a three-peat for the MVP award.
Yeah, I feel slightly biased because I obviously like the guy, but I'm with you though. It's a little bit of voter fatigue there. It's happened enough in the recent years, and people like to see different names pop up and these kind of things. But I mean, you can't discount the stats and all that. Like dude's an amazing player. It's crazy to see what he can do, how he can bring the ball up, how big he is. It is honestly just like wow. But I do feel like if he were to get it for a third time, his team would have to do some shit.
They would have to go crazy and nuts, and he would also have to go nuts to be able to win that. But another player that really likes to drive and truck through the driving lanes, and no matter who builds a wall around, can't stop him. That's Zion Williamson, who has been averaging, I think it's like 27 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists a game on over 60% field goal percentage for the entire season. He's taken all of his shots at the rim, basically, except for a couple shots, on the 3-point shot, which isn't very good for him. But I mean, literally no one can stop him. They tried the Giannis wall defense. He just goes right through it. They just can't stop him. I feel like we have a player like this every couple of years, where it's like Ben Simmons back in 2017, and then it was Giannis, and now it's now it's Zion. So I'm just wondering to see how defenses actually manage to shut it down if he ever gets into the playoffs, how they scheme around it. I'm just curious to see how it happens, because we thought Giannis was unstoppable, right? So I'm just curious to see how they slow him down.
But what I find funny is that this season is like being slid under the rug, like out of nowhere. He's not getting as much attention as we were giving him his rookie season.
Yeah.
Also on the Pelicans, there's another player. Lonzo Ball has been playing really, really good as of the last couple months. It's funny because the very first episode or second episode or something, I said I maybe they should just give up and trade Lonzo Ball. I'm not sure if the experiment's working. And then like immediately after that episode, he just started shooting like 40% from 3 on high volume. He made more threes in this season than Trae Young did, at least so far. I'm not sure if that stats changed. It might have changed by now, but yeah, he's been playing really well too.
Yeah,
he dropped 38. Whew.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, went from I think 7 threes.
Yeah, Zion and Lonzo is a very interesting duo. I'm interested to see how they go about that with the future, especially if they don't have to play like Eric Bledsoe. You know what I mean? I think that's a really, really weird fit. Same with Steven Adams at the center position. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it was still kind of a little puzzling when they did trade for him, and even now it's still confusing.
I think it was more for the picks than it was the player.
I mean, that's fair, and I just it's kind of hard to see how he fits well with them.
Yeah, I mean he's playing the two guard right now, and he's already an undersized player, so it's kind of hard to justify. Um, I don't know. He's just really not the greatest fit. They tried to trade JJ Redick, but they ended up waiving him, and I think now he's on Dallas, and Dallas is actually on a win streak right now. They're putting it together a little bit. They're now in the playoff race. I think inside the playoff
I think they're
bracket
in
right
the
now.
seventh spot right now, but they would still have to do the play-in.
Yeah. Well, I think only the eighth seed has to do the play-in.
No, I'm pretty sure it was like seventh and eighth seed, and then ninth, 10th, and I believe 11th play.
I can't really remember for sure, but you know, I don't know. It's just really nice to see Luka finally getting something put together. I mean, Kristaps is healthy now. At least that's what it's looking like. So it's just kind of cool to see that. And another player that has not been healthy this entire year is Yusuf Nurkic on the Trailblazers. It's really hard to justify, keeping him in the position that he is, where he's coming back, he's starting, he's getting injured. Enes Kanter has played better than him all season, even when Nurkic has been healthy. Kanter has just been better. I don't know. It's just really hard to justify.
Yeah, you guys remember Joel Perspilla?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, Cantor reminds me of like a Perspilla without all the attitude. He seems kind of like a just quieter version of the way he plays, which I love. I honestly I love Cantor on our team.
Yeah, I think Cantor's a really nice fit. I mean, I love Cantor purely for the fact that he helped us get to the Western Conference Finals in 2019.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
So really appreciate that. And then he went to the Celtics, and then we traded for him again. So that was kind of cool. Derek Jones Jr. has come to the team. He's played his role. Same with Robert Covington. But our defense is still one of the worst defenses in the league, even when we have quite a few defensive specialists. I don't know. It's just I have to say it. It's a coaching issue. It really, really is. It comes down to Terry Stotts, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly,
we
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I remember earlier in the season I was neutral on the Terry Stotts situation, but just watching games now, it's just like
It's
it's a clear cut.
Yeah, it's undefensible. I've been saying it all season, though. I think I said it earlier, like one of the very first podcasts that we did, that I just think Terry Stotts should have gone. I think he should have gone back in, what was it,
2018 when they got swept.
When they got swept, yeah. And then I was trying to, that whole narrative of him being fired was kind of pushed out of mind because 2019 happened. Where we placed third seed and then we made the Western Conference Finals. It was kind of hard to justify, still firing Terry Stotts even with those results. So,
and even if that is the case and they do end up parting ways, who do you think would be a good candidate for head coaching job here?
I think David Vanterpool's the guy.
Agreed.
David Vanterpool is really the guy. I think he and Dame have a really good friendship. I mean, a lot of the Blazer players have shouted him out. He was here before, and I think he helped us with a good defensive scheme.
Yeah.
So I just think that he would be the guy to hire.
That, and he helped develop Dame and CJ.
Yeah. So any other coaches you guys think are out there that maybe we would want to snatch up? Is Dave Yorger still out there?
I think he's still out there.
And who was on the Kenny Atkinson?
Yeah, so I was gonna say Kenny Atkinson.
I mean, all three of those coaches are really, really good. Dave Yorger was a really good coach. he just kind of was put on the Kings whenever they were bad. But then whenever they got De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield, and then they had that season where they played really really well. They almost made the playoffs. They were like the 9th seed, and then they fired him. It was just like, okay. So I don't know. It was just really really odd how they fired him and then hired Luke Walton, who's a million times worse. I think we talked about. I mean, the episode never came out, but we talked about this last time. I think like Luke Walton is one of the worst coaches I might have ever seen.
Yeah, I think we did talk about that actually.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how that came out twice. What do you guys think of Luke Walton?
I'm
Oh
I'm
gosh,
not a fan.
he's a great cheerleader. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, back on those Kobe Pow teams.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, if I was him personally, I'd be like, what do you mean? Like, you can hate on me all you want. I got to watch the greatest, player, arguably, throw down courtside, and it's like, damn, you got paid for it. Like, who's really the clown here, right?
I mean, he played with Kobe and he coached LeBron. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
He also coached. Wait, go ahead.
I was gonna say, there's definitely something about him that, like, he knows the game. I know he knows the game. He's been around it his whole entire life, since his dad was a player. Like, we've all just kind of known, like, all right, he's not leaving the game. So where does he fit? It's almost like he's a square peg trying to fit in a circle, right? We just got to figure out where that square peg is for him. Because it obviously
I think
wasn't
it's
a player.
an assistant.
I was gonna say, what wasn't a player, wasn't a head coach. So yeah, maybe we got to find maybe like player development, maybe like be recruiting that he's good at. Maybe maybe he knows how to do the laundry better than anyone in the facility. Who knows?
I'm just saying though, as an assistant coach, he was on that Warriors team, and every time he's been an assistant coach, he hasn't been bad. In fact, he's been pretty good as an assistant coach. It's the same thing with who was the Bulls head coach last year that got fired?
Jim Boylan.
Jim Boylan. Jim Boylan was part of the Spurs defense runs, whenever they made the finals, and I think he won a ring in 2014 as an assistant coach under Pop. So like there's these coaches that are really good assistant coaches that try to take the next step in the head coach realm, and they fall flat on their face. And I think Luke Walton's one of those players. Same with Jim Boylan. And speaking of coaching, I think that Mike Budenholzer is a guy that's really kind of come under the spotlight recently. Whether or not he should be the Bucks head coach. What do you guys think of that?
I'm honestly not sure, to be honest.
Because it's been like 3 years in a row where he just hasn't made any adjustments in the playoffs and they've lost. So
Yeah, because I see a lot of Bucks fans like on Twitter just saying like starting like that whole trend to fire Budenholzer.
yeah, so I mean it's been around since like last year even, where fire Budenholzer. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. The fire Budenholzer train has been going pretty strong, and I think that if they don't perform this season, they're gonna fire him. I'm excited to see who they would get because I don't think they're making the finals. I think that it's up to the Nets or the Sixers at this point. I think that if the Bucks were to win, it would be an upset at this point. So, just excited to see who they get. All right. I think that's all that actually happened for this last 2 weeks that we really had to cover. So instead, we're going to turn our attention over to Eric over here. So you said you were a barber, right?
Yes, I currently still am.
Currently still a barber.
Currently still am. I actually was telling Diego that it was pretty good that this got moved just because I actually just saw Giannis when he was in town playing Portland.
Yeah. He actually told me that. He told me that it was like last week that you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and So that's pretty cool. So you've cut quite a few players. You mind giving us at least a list of some of the players that you've cut? Because I asked you this last time, but it's been a while, so I don't really remember all the players.
Yeah, yeah. Let me. I actually need to update this. All right. Yeah, so I've cut up Caleb Swanigan, Hassan Whiteside, Udonis Haslam, Seth Curry, Kent Bazemore, Jaron Jackson Jr., DJ Wilson, Bryce Brown, Justin James, Isaiah Whitehead, Rui Hachimura, Jacob Evans, Damian Lillard, Zion Williamson, Antonio Blakely, Wendell Carter Jr., Chinao Okunaku, Alize Johnson, who actually has been killing it for the Nets lately.
Yeah, he has. He just got signed to an extension, actually.
He did. Gary Trent Jr., Anthony Simons, Jared Vanderbilt, DeAnthony Melton, DeAndre Liggins, Tyler Harris, Eric Bledsoe, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Marshawn Brooks, Dylan Brooks, John Jenkins, Chris Boucher, Gary Payton II, Dylan Ennis, Peyton Pritchard, TJ Klein, Kavell Bigby Williams, Mikael McIntosh, Brad Wanamaker, Eric Pascal.
All right, so there's a few players in there that kind of stood out. Yeah, but we're going to talk about the star players for a little bit. I'm going to talk about some of the lesser known players here for a second. Marshawn Brooks is a name that I haven't heard in a very long time. He was in the league in 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
I have not seen him in a while. So that's a pretty cool throwback name right there. Also, we talked about this last time. It's very rare for Celtics players to come in and get minutes immediately, but Peyton Pritchard has, and he has been pretty good for the Celtics. So tell us about the time that you cut him up.
Yeah, so I actually was cutting him up when he was in high school. So we lived maybe 10, 15 minutes away from each other at the time because I was living up in Wilsonville when he was at West Lynn. And he had just, heard about me, just through word of mouth. And I was cutting up some of the other basketball players in the area. And so he hit me up and was like, hey, can I get a haircut? Yada, yada. So I started cutting him up his freshman or sophomore year of high school is when I started cutting him up, and then I cut him throughout his whole high school. So that was pretty cool just to see that behind the scenes of him really really put in that work. Him win his 4 straight high school championships, and then go on to Oregon, and then now from being an Oregon star to now a Celtics star, which is crazy to see. But that dude is a crazy hard worker. Like I tell this to everyone who I've talked to about regarding him, but every time I went to go and cut him up, every single time he was either getting back from a workout, getting ready to go do a workout, or napping because he had just did some kind of crazy training. Like at no point was he just sitting there playing video games. At no point was he just chilling on the couch. He wasn't focused on the girls. He wasn't focused on what he was wearing. He literally just focused on getting bigger, faster, stronger, and then winning. That was the other thing too, winning. That dude's always on a winning program, which is pretty cool to see.
And it's really, really cool to see, a player like Peyton Pritchard come in and get minutes immediately, because there's other players for the Celtics that have been drafted a lot higher than he has. There was a lottery pick, Romeo Langford, which has barely gotten any minutes, but, Peyton Pritchard has come in and immediately gotten backup point guard minutes, even started some games, I think. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah, and I think that really shows, just in, I'm sure from the moment they drafted him, they went and met up with him at some point, and just got to talk to him, and that's really all it is. He's the kind of person that he just needs the foot in the door. Once you realize who it is, and once you realize how hard of a player he actually or how much of a hard worker he is, you can't you'd be dumb to not pick him to be on the team just because okay, this dude's really about his stuff. This dude's really trying to get better. He's focused, and that's, I feel like, the biggest thing is he's really focused. A lot of the other players, I feel like him him being a later pick in the draft probably helped him out, with just not having that ego, but having that something to prove attitude. Because a lot of those big lottery picks, I'm sure, walk around like their shit don't stink, and they're thinking, oh, I'm gonna have a starting spot in a year, or I'm gonna get minutes because I'm so and so, or I got picked, number 10. Oh, they'll know that, but it's like then all that goes out the window when everyone's working out, lining up toe to toe. Guaranteed, Peyton's putting his best foot forward and giving those guys a run for their money. So it's not surprising.
He doesn't have that stress of like expectation going into it.
Exactly.
So also another player, which is kind of cool to see on the Celtics, a little bit of something that I wanted to mention about this actually the last couple of weeks, is that Robert Williams has been playing really, really well as coming into the starting role ever since Tice has been traded. He's averaged 11, 10, and I think like 5 assists, like 2 blocks a game. He's been playing really, really well. So I'm not sure if you've ever met him or talked to him or anything, but yeah, he's a really cool guy. He has the nickname Time Lord because his very first day of training camp, he actually slept in and missed his flight to Boston. So
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, that's why he has the nickname Time Lord. But in terms of other players that you cut,
still the best nickname
I know
though.
You said you've cut Damian Lillard. Since we're Portland fans, you got to tell us a little bit about Dame.
I would say a lot of similarities to Peyton, with just being that very focused in his circle, hard worker. I cut him up in Vegas while we were in Vegas for the NBA Summer League, and that was, I want to say 3 seasons ago. So it was for the NBA The Jump. He had to do an interview for them, and he had just came back from like Cancun or something. So he was like in vacation mode, and he had came to Vegas, for the summer league to do his appearances and all that kind of stuff, be there with the team, and tying in another player that I've cut, who I'm pretty good friends with, Gary Payton II. So Gary Payton being from Oakland, obviously Dame's from Oakland, so they have those ties. So they know each other, especially because when Gary was on the Trailblazers training squad, I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
He was on the Trailblazers training squad, so obviously he got to hang out with Dame a little bit more, and I'm sure they just bonded more with their on the court, off the court stuff. So long story short, being in Vegas, anytime I'm in Vegas, Gary will hit me up. I'll hit him up like, hey, what's going on? How's it going? Can I get a cut? So him knowing that I was in town, he actually was the one who recommended me to go and cut Dame, since Dame was in Vegas and was like, hey, I need a haircut. I'm here in Vegas. Got to do an interview. Do you know anyone? Do you have a barber out here? Since that's where Gary was training in the off season. And so luckily I was there, and luckily Gary instantly hit me up. And it was actually pretty funny. I was just on a quote unquote lunch break. I had literally just took off my backpack. So I travel with like it's like a barber backpack. I literally have all my tools in there, and then I have my like ring light that I hold. And so I had let all that stuff go, put it in the hotel room, just changed. I was like, okay, finally gonna get a bite to eat, gonna relax for a second. At the time, no players were getting cut. I think people were playing, people were doing their meetings and walkthroughs and all that stuff. So I had a little bit of time that I could just kind of kill. So I thought. And then, yeah, as I'm in the elevator, I hear, my phone go off, and it's Gary, and he instantly is like, hey, Dame needs a haircut, go to his hotel right now. And I was just kind of like, what? Like, you just went into the elevator, so it was kind of cutting in and out. But I kind of knew what he said, but I kind of was still like, all right, I'm gonna tell him I'll call him back real quick. Let me get down to the main lobby, get some service, so I can hear you clearly what you just said, because I think I know what you said, but can't be too sure. Yeah. So then, sure enough, calling right back, and then he's like, Dame needs a haircut. Like, here's his hotel number. Like, he knows you're coming. Just go. And so I pushed the elevator right back up to my floor and went up, got the Uber. And yeah, that one was pretty cool. My brother-in-law was actually there with me for that one, Chaz. So it was pretty cool for him to be able to come and be my bodyguard. He's done that a few
Speak
times for a few players, which has been pretty cool.
and actually speaking of Gary Payton II, he actually just got signed to a 10-day contract with the Portland Trailblazers like yesterday or the day before. So
Oh shit! Really?
Actually, that was the
yeah.
Warriors.
Wait, was it the Warriors or was it the?
It was the Warriors.
Trailblazers? It wasn't the Warriors. Maybe it was the Warriors. I swore. Okay, well he's from Oakland, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense. I mean, they're more in San Francisco now, but it's close enough. But it's also a really cool story that you got to talk to, Dame. You got to hang out with them. Gary Payton II, also son of Oregon State legend Gary Payton the first, who ended up, going to college here in Oregon. Ended up playing in Seattle, so that's a very Pacific Northwest centered guy right there. Also really cool to see. But another player that you cut, who actually just got traded from us and just dropped 47 points for the Toronto Raptors, is Gary Trent Jr. So tell us a little bit about Gary Trent Jr.
Man, so I'd say like out of all the players that I've cut, he probably was a player that I built like I'd say a decent relationship with. Like I've built relationships with other guys too, but like I feel like from the beginning. So I started cutting him up when he I think was barely suiting up, like pre rookie season, like in the summer, like legit just had left Duke.
Summer League.
Yes. Yeah, so I cut him up for the summer league, and then I started cutting him up, for the season, and then obviously the following season, and then so forth. But I mean, he was a player that I legit, can like call on the FaceTime right now. Like that's which is pretty cool to be able to do and say. He's I knew that he was going to do what he's doing right now. I'll just put it that way.
Oh yeah, I think every Blazer fan who watched him knew that he was this good.
Yeah, no, he has the heart, he has the focus, he's got the size, and I feel like that's really the biggest thing that I think is going to set him apart from a lot of these flash in the pan type players is his size. Like that dude, he's he has the potential to really put on some more muscle, and he's already a pretty strong guy, but you put on a little bit more muscle, get that shot going, yeah, and he's going to be a force in the league, which is really cool to just see because I've got a ton of his autographs and a ton of pictures and a ton of just random stuff that one day I was like, you know what, he'll definitely do it. I'm gonna go ahead and just stock up on his stuff.
And he's also really, really skilled too. Because I mean, like, look, there's not a lot of players out there who can hit, a dribble, step back, to the side, 3-pointer in the face of defenders. And Gary Trent Jr. I saw that do that multiple times for us on the Trailblazers. So.
Yeah, and I really do think that him being on the Blazers has helped him out with just Dame, CJ. I even feel like some of the players who have kind of gone in and out have helped him out with just
probably someone like Mario Hezonja too. I mean, like I know he's kind of like a meme for us, but like that dude really knew how to like handle the ball at least.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no. So I'd say he's a cool dude. He's definitely cool dude. It's cool to see him really shine now, just because when I was cutting him up a lot, that was kind of the talk was just, coaches waiting, like, and I'm just in the background like, dude, you're gonna get your shot, like. I knew that it just took thoughts to put him in the rotation to him to finally figure it out, and then in the bubble, we all saw what he did.
Yeah. It took a couple of injuries, but once he got those minutes, he really showed up in those minutes, and then he basically stayed in the rotation even after that. So it was really cool to see. I think every Blazer player loves Gary Trent Jr., but we do also got a new player in town, Norman Powell. Not sure if you've ever talked to him or interacted with him at all. But I've like Raptors fans love him, so it's pretty cool to see him in here. He dropped 32 for us in like either his first or his second game.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That actually might have been one of the same nights that Gary went off too. But yeah, I've never interacted with him. I've never talked to him, never cut him up, obviously. But we'll see. I'm not saying that I won't.
Well,
there's
he's
always
in
that
Portland.
chance.
Yeah, he's in Portland now. I mean, you've cut other Blazer players up. Ant Simons too. So that must have been pretty cool.
Yeah, that's he's a cool guy too. He's a lot more quiet, a lot more conservative. But you
Yeah,
definitely
we can tell that whenever he's on the court, he just kind of looks like super timid, kind of quiet, doesn't really like demand anything.
yeah. He's a pretty funny guy though. He's pretty funny.
Oh, nice.
At the end of the day, he's a kid. Like
Yeah.
like every average early 20-year-old.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, dude, he's super athletic, as we all saw in the dunk contest.
He can shoot that thing too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's
Yeah, he
pretty
can
cool.
shoot.
Like as I kind of go on with my cutting career and whatnot, it's cool just to be able to say like, all right, I've cut a slam dunk champion, I've cut 2-time MVP, I've cut first round draft pick. So now I just need like a scoring title, maybe let's go with a 3-point contest winner, maybe defensive player of the year.
Hey, maybe you can
Well, when
cut
technically
Rudy up one of
Giannis.
these days. Oh yeah, you did cut Giannis DPOY. Giannis DPOY.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, so he's in the MVP and the DPOI. Yeah. So then that leaves me with the sixth man. Then she'll give me a sixth man. Someone.
You've also cut up. You also cut up most improved. Wait, no, you haven't cut up CJ. If you cut up CJ, you get most improved player.
That's true. No, I have not. I've met CJ. I've met him up a couple of times. I've met him. He's a cool guy too. I met him when I was cutting up Whiteside, when Whiteside was on the Blazers.
Whiteside.
Yeah,
Did Whiteside win most improved player?
No, but
No.
I think he's been like a blocks leader too.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's a blocks leader, was a rebounds leader.
No, I think Drummond still has that.
Yeah, I know he's got the stats. He's definitely got the stats.
And now he's on the Kings. That's pretty cool. See him on the Kings. But yeah, if you ever need like another MVP or anything, maybe one of these days you can get a scoring title. Actually, maybe one of these days you can cut up James Harden's beard or something.
Yeah, I actually did have the opportunity to cut him up.
Really?
Like 2-3 years. Yeah. So when they came to Portland to play, the day before they played, they went to, I don't know if you're familiar with it's a practice facility called I think that's actually what it's called, is the practice facility, not the Blazers actual facility, like by Bridgeport.
Is it like in Portland, or is it?
No, it's actually really close to where they practice anyway. But it's in like a private gym, maybe like 5 minutes away. But anyway, they needed a place to practice one day, and I actually know guys who ran that facility. It's like the old Clippers core. I don't know if you remember, Diego, me ever showing you any pictures of that place that I was cutting at. So I would go there every Tuesday and Thursday, and I would cut up a lot of the kids because there was like a lot of AAU, a lot of high school basketball, just random clinics, and so they wanted to have like a barbershop in their gym. So they got a chair there, and they would have me come in there every Tuesday and Thursday. Well, long story short, on one of the days that they had closed the facility down for the Rockets to come in, one of the directors there, who knows a lot of the Rockets team and whatnot, he told me like, "Hey, come up with your clippers. These guys might want haircuts. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. Either way, come." And so I was there, and I was literally just hanging out while they were practicing. I actually remember it was super funny because this is when Chris Paul, I think, was on the team. Was it? Yeah.
So this was like 2018. This was during their 67 win season, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were hot. It was like
yeah.
Harden, Clint Capella,
Trevor
Ariza, yep.
James Harden and then Chris Paul.
Yeah, but I remember it was super funny because they were joking around. So since I was like setting up all my Clipper stuff, I forgot one of them. I think it was Trevor Ariza was like joking to like Harden, like, "Yo, let him cut your beard" or something. They were just saying some random stuff. But I was sitting there and I was ready and I was waiting, but none of them needed a haircut. So I ended up just kind of just hanging out. It was pretty cool though. I got to just talk with them and just be a fly on the wall.
It's got to be pretty interesting to see, a team with that much talent, scoring leader James Harden, like almost an MVP a couple of times, Chris Paul, obviously MVP in James Harden, a lot of those role players. Clint Capella, who's killing it for the Hawks even this year. So that's got to be really cool to just be kind of in the same area watching them play basketball for a while.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I remember there was a photographer there, but they took a picture, and it was just like me, one of the trainers, and Clint Capella just eating donuts. It was pretty funny.
Oh yeah, I remember that photo.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, just casually eating some donuts here with Clint Capella.
I mean, that's gonna be a cool ass experience, man. I wish I could do that once in a while, but it is what it is.
Man, I've been beyond blessed, bro. I have been beyond blessed with amazing opportunities, and just it's amazing just to think about where a pair of clippers and some shears will take you. I always dreamed of these kind of things and wanted them to happen, but it wasn't until you got to put in that hard work and then the networking, and then when the time is right, the time is right.
I mean, hell yeah, man. Whenever you're a killer barber, shit like that just kind of happens.
Hey man, I appreciate it. It's all because of the hard work and all the times I butchered Diego's hair.
Yeah, Diego. You want to tell us about any of the times that he messed up your haircut?
I
Um,
actually
he,
don't think I
he
ever did.
he never even did.
I was
Though
gonna
I
say
will
I
admit there
Never
was
actually.
once.
one time that I did not like it, and then later on I ended up liking the style afterwards.
Oh, okay. I
Which
got you. I
style
got
was
you.
that?
It was like, remember when you first gave me the comb over,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just didn't like it at all because I was still like on the faux hawk like phase.
Yep.
The
Yep.
faux hawk phase.
That is funny. I forgot about that. Yeah, I like
When
your
wa-
coat
when
right now
was
though.
that?
Gosh, that was a
When
while
was
ago.
that? Yeah, like
I
how
think that
long
was like
ago?
my sixth grade year.
Oh shit. Okay, so
That was a
in
while.
fifth grade, whenever we were at Hayesville, right? I had this phase. If you knew me back then, I had really long hair that went down like almost my chin. I'm not sure if you remember that at all.
I kind of remember.
Yeah, I used to have really long hair back then. I also had this phase where I wore like fucking fingerless gloves. Oh god, it's so bad. Yeah, god damn it. Oh, it's so bad.
Looking like you belong downtown.
Yeah, exactly. Hey man, but it is what it is.
That's all good,
Um,
man. I wore one the other day and actually clowned myself.
you wore fingerless gloves?
Yeah, well, I actually. So here's the worst part. I actually cut the tips off so I could have fingerless.
Oh shit! Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, that's an
yeah.
interesting.
Well,
That's interesting.
yeah. So when I go snowboarding, I like to have not like a big layer, but just like something covering my hands. But I also still need my fingertips to like text, zip
Yeah,
up, do my helmet, all that. I don't like having the big gloves and just trying to figure it out. It's so annoying. So
yeah,
yeah,
I
I
got you.
cut them off a while ago so I could have those.
That makes sense, man. All right. Well, do you have any questions, Andreas?
Yeah, I actually kind of have a couple, and I think might have already asked you them, but I'm still probably gonna ask them.
Yeah.
One of them being, what are some things you've learned from cutting athletes that stick to you to this day? Like something that they said, or something that you just learned while cutting them.
That's a good question. Um, I would say something that I've learned, just like I guess overall with everyone, is to always be prepared because you never know when you'll get that phone call of, "Hey, I need a haircut in 45 minutes." So you got to make sure to have all your stuff prepared and have things that you might not even need, but it's better to need it, or it's better to have it and not
Have
need
it.
it than need it and not have it, right? So that was actually I learned that one from the first time I cut up Giannis. I didn't have like any guards, any razors. I literally just had like pretty much my regular clipper, my trimmer, and a comb. That's like all I had, and I was like I'm supposed to give this guy like a fresh fade with just pretty much nothing. But what are you gonna say? No, hell no. Like I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna figure it out, right? So I
Yeah.
would say be prepared for sure. Um, Always be prepared. Always be ready to go. Always be sharp. So when you want to take that day off, you'll never know when you're gonna get a phone call. So don't take any days off. And then something overall that I would say that I've taken from them is just you got to put in the time to really like to get to that level.
Network.
Like yeah, like all those guys who I've been fortunate enough to cut in the league, they didn't get to the league on an easy stride. You know, they had to outwork everyone in, you know, middle school, high school, college, and then in the college level, you had, you know, all the, you know, essentially the pros that you had to try and beat out, and then you have all the guys who were overseas who you got to try and beat out, and then you got the guys who were in the G League who you got to try and beat out. So there's a lot of it's a lot of competition. So you really just gotta you gotta know when to perform, you know, because when the lights are on, that's when it's gonna really matter, you know. And something that I took, I didn't say like I necessarily like took it recently, but just throughout the time of me cutting him. So Kent Bazemore is like another. He's actually another, like a good friend now. So he's someone who anytime we get together, like we'll talk about life, we'll talk about, you know, because we're the same age, so it's pretty cool to, you know, really just have someone who knows the same thing that you know on like a growing up scale, right? So we're very just like neck and neck with what we're learning and how
Hey,
we're applying.
shout out to Kent Bazemore though. He's playing really well with the Warriors this season.
Yes, actually, we had talked about that the last time he came to town. He's averaging the least amount of minutes, but the most amount of points. So we talked about, you know, that and how we kind of overcame that, and we talked a lot about, you know, just like meditating and, you know, letting things happen on their own and just really being patient. Um, yeah, we talk a lot of life, which is once again it's pretty cool to, you know, just to have someone who, as a genuine person, like, hey, you know, this is what I'm going through. You know, you're going through it. How did you overcome it? Maybe I can use the same tactics. Maybe, you know, if not, then cool. I at least know how to overcome something, you know, in that realm. So yeah, we definitely chat a lot about life and whatnot. But what I was gonna say was, we always we always talk about how it's important just to really like to having your attitude determining everything. You know, so if something bad happens to you, it's your attitude afterward that's really going to dictate how that ends up. It can start bad, but if it's on your end of ending bad, that's on you because that's your attitude choosing to think that way, to feel that way, to react that way. So it's really just taking that attitude, molding it up to whatever you got to do to make it better and see the light and everything, you know, because of course most people want to be, you know, pessimistic in certain cases or a realist, you know, but it's it's super simple just to like try and figure it out. You just got to really think like, okay, that happened. I can't focus my energy on that anymore. What can I do now to fix it? We got to focus on solutions now, not the problem, you know, because I think it was Einstein who said it best. You know, we got to use a different level of thinking on the solution as we did to create the problem. Because if we use that same level of thinking, we're only going to create a new problem. So it's different thinking.
You got to think outside the box sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you're getting some life advice here on the Sean Andreas podcast. Love to see it.
Yeah, and then
All
another
right.
question I had was, what is something you haven't done but you want to accomplish, and why?
Ooh, what's something I haven't done but I want to accomplish?
It could be
Um,
outside of cutting, or it could be you, just anything in
I
general.
I can guess one of the things. It's probably cutting brawn.
LeBron would be really dope to cut. So actually, one of the things that I would think would be pretty cool to cut is I want to. So I've cut up, you know, NFL and NBA. I've never cut anyone up in the MLB though. So I do think that baseball would be pretty cool to get into, just because they have a lot of cool hairstyles. They get pretty crazy with the designs and all of their, you know, just styles in general. So I think it'd be cool to, you know, swing one of those in there. You know, no pun intended.
Speaking of MLB legend, A-Rod actually just bought the Timberwolves. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah,
There's like A Rod and
A-Rod
another like
just
billionaire decided
yep
to buy it over what I forget
by
his name.
mm. So you know, that's pretty cool
Yeah,
to see that.
I'd say yeah, and as far as like non-barber related, something that I would like to do that I haven't done yet. I'm kind of currently doing it, but I can't really count it, and that's more so just family related, like, you know, just seeing the kids do certain things. Um,
Mhm.
so as long as they still got a pulse, I think I'm doing it. But I would say I want to see them become good people, which is going to take me being a good person to teach them how to do and react in good ways, because obviously, you know, we're only, you know, we're only as we can only become who we like need to be based off of like our surroundings and our environment. You know, so if your environment is filled with, you know, negativity, or you know, whatever the case may be, like that might be just your denominator. So I'm trying my best to be a good person so it can feed off of her, and she doesn't have to really try. It's just in who she is, or who they are.
I
With both of the girls.
I think the biggest thing with kids, and I say this out of experience because I remember a lot of how I thought about as a kid, who I was as a kid, and how I've changed since a kid. I think the biggest thing to take into account for kids is to just try to let them be who they're gonna be. You don't put anything on them. Don't try to make them some way. Don't try to try to push them one way or another.
Yeah,
Just
no
kind of
force.
let them do what they're gonna do, and then they'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, Sean. That is I've actually been given that advice a few times now, from a lot of different people. So it's cool to hear you say it as well, because it's only going to make me think about it more. You know, to really just, hey,
Yeah.
let them be who they're bound to be. Like, you can only push, you know, them to do things, you know, so much before they're gonna repent it.
Oh yeah, especially whenever they become like teenagers or whatever, and then you try to force them to do stuff, they're gonna push back. They're gonna push back. So just try to take that into account. Is that you may not have resistance early on, but there's gonna be resistance later if you try to do that. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
all right, any other questions, Andreas?
I do not.
All right. Well, I think that's all the time that we have for today. So if you guys enjoyed the podcast, be sure to leave a like, a comment down below, and hit the subscribe button. Any
Smash
other?
the subscribe button.
Exactly. Be sure to watch all of our previous episodes too if you haven't caught them. Any final words from you guys?
No.
I'm
Also,
looking forward to a follow up with hopefully some MLB players, or maybe LeBron on a
Yeah,
cutlet.
yeah.
I'll let
Because they
Diego know.
watch this podcast. Yeah, they'll watch this podcast and they'll get back to you. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
Any final words, Andreas?
no.
All right. Well, if you guys enjoyed, be sure to follow all the advice I said before. Otherwise, you can find us on. Well, I'm on Twitter at the Faceless Merc. That's Merc with a K. Plug your socials. Anything else?
Uh, for Purple Pony, Purple PWNY 15 on Twitter.
All right. Anything you want to plug, Eric?
ET the Barber on everything.
On Twitter, Instagram. Got
Twitter,
it.
Instagram, YouTube, Open Table. Shoot, I got an Izzy's account I can give you if you want. ET the Barber. They're all ET the Barber.
All right. Well, it was really cool talking with you, and great episode of the podcast. And this is the Sean Andreas Podcast, and we'll see you all later.
Awesome. See you guys.